What is up, everybody? Josh Tapp here again, and welcome back to the Lucky Titan. And today we're here with Daniel, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Liebeskind. Is that correct, Daniel?
That's pretty great. Yeah, you
Pretty
got it.
decent. I did okay.
Pretty good.
um, some of those names are always difficult for me, but Daniel, I'm really excited to have you here, and I want to just let everybody know who you are because this is a conversation I've been looking forward to. This guy is the founder of Topia, which if you haven't heard of it at this point, I'd be surprised. These guys have really taken the market by a storm when it comes to community and gathering. These guys have really kind of worked their way into what I would say is they've kind of ridden the wave from coronavirus where everybody realized, oh, we're going to have to be online at some point. Anyways, we're going to be conferencing, but they really created a more engaging way to actually have meetings with other people and interactions with other people. So I'm excited to talk about the platform, but these guys also just secured their seed round for $5 million with, I can't remember his name, Alexis Ohanian. He's the founder of Reddit. I can never pronounce these names, but anyways, the founder of Reddit just started a seed round with these guys. So it'll be exciting to see what comes here in the next year, especially with this amazing company. So Daniel, say what's up to everybody and let's hop in, man.
What's up, everybody? Josh, thanks for having me. It's such an honor to be here and looking forward to talking.
Yeah, me too. And I'm excited to kind of pick apart your platform a little bit here and talk about, the story. Obviously, we like to know, like, how the heck did you, you started this in May of 2020 and now you're hosting Burning Man. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so we're co-hosting Burning Man. We're the browser-based version of it. And we did this last year as well. We had about 25,000 people come. This year it starts on the 29th, August 29th. And we're hoping there's going to be a lot more. We have way more features, performance. We actually have a lot of really cool things that are happening throughout the week in an event system now. So it should be really interesting. And for anybody that hasn't been to Burning Man, this is an amazing, really accessible, very safe way to experience the community, experience the vibes, the energy of Burning Man. And so I encourage anybody to check it out. It's going to be wild.
Love that. Well, and to be able to land that big of an event is proof, honestly, that you've built a spectacular platform. And I want to just, because a lot of the people, and this is mostly consumed via audio. So walk us through what the difference would be between using Topia and using Zoom.
Definitely. Yeah. So Zoom is, it's all about either panels or broadcasts, right? It's one to many in that only one person at a time can talk, right? And you can have breakout rooms, but it requires somebody to facilitate actually moving people into the breakout rooms. You don't really have the agency to control that on your own. And so in Topia, what we have are big, essentially game worlds. So there are these customizable worlds that can be really beautiful. They can be interactive. You can play multiplayer games. You can watch YouTube and Twitch streams, all sorts of content, and you have the agency to actually move around. So you just click. It's very easy. My 95-year-old grandfather had his birthday party in Topia, and he was able to move around, get in there, move around. You just click and as you get closer to other people that are in this big canvas, your audio and video fades in. And when you move away, your audio and video fades out. So you can form these small groups. You can have one-on-ones, small groups. So there could be 1,000 people in this world, which may happen at Burning Man, which, by the way, is called Build-A-Burn for anybody that's looking it up. So there could be 1,000 people on the playa, but you're hanging out with 3 people, right? And then somebody could be broadcasting. So we've had a lot of companies using this, and maybe the CEO comes on, broadcasts to the entire world, or there's a Q&A where somebody can walk up to a microphone podium and suddenly they're broadcasting. And you can be listening to this broadcast, but still hanging out with 2 other people, right? And so you can consume the content. Think Clubhouse, where it's a panel, but in the audience, you can still be interacting. Just like in real life, you could be whispering to the person sitting next to you while you're watching somebody speak on a panel. You can do that sort of stuff in Topia. And the context matters, right? Us hanging out at Burning Man is very different from us working out in an office, is very different from us hanging out at a bar. And so for us, it's about creating that context, creating experiences and interactions that enhance human connection and really help people have experiences together, form new memories. And it's really hard to do that in video chat. It's also very hard to do that in existing social media. Social media is more about broadcasting content and less about creating new experiences, new memories, new friends, having serendipity, synchronous connection, those kinds of things.
Yeah. And I love that you've built that. We were talking about this in the pre-interview, but you and I are both believers that we need to remake the internet in a way that's more people friendly. It's really built around like, let's provide real value to people, and value that, in my opinion, is providing more truth to people, and I like to illustrate this with the story from my wife. We get pregnant with our first child, and she gets a pain in her stomach, and she starts to Google it. And the answers range from anything from, oh, you worked out too hard and you're having a cramp in your side, to your baby just passed away, right? And I mean, how scary is that, not knowing which answer? And I know that's kind of an extreme example, but the same thing happens all over the place. And what I love about what you guys are doing is you're saying, let's create a place where it's not even just being the person on the pedestal, but just being there and participating becomes way more valuable, because it creates a new networking practice in the business world, which is what I love about it. Because if I hop onto Clubhouse and I don't get into the speaker panel, I'm just sitting there going, oh, there's all these amazing people in this group and I can't communicate with them.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's exactly right. Yeah. And you're also bringing up the information that exists on the internet right now. And frankly, in a lot of social platforms, the information that exists is the stuff that's served to you reinforces your existing beliefs. So, in your specific example, sometimes it's hard to find real information, hard to actually interact with other humans. And when you hide behind a username, it's challenging to get a sense for, is this person authentic? So even if you put that question on Reddit and you're getting a bunch of information, a bunch of responses, who knows who you're really getting that information from, right? And so also the realness of conversations. Sometimes this is a little bit of tangential, but sometimes through asynchronous text communication, things can get really toxic really fast. So you have echo chambers of information just being served to you that reinforce your belief, your existing beliefs. And then you have toxic things like disagreements that turn really nasty really fast. And one of the things, somebody from our community actually said this the other day, that they witnessed two people get into a Topia world that didn't know each other, had very opposing political beliefs about something, and they had a really high level, very intelligent, very interesting conversation. Rather that if it was a text-based conversation, would have been incredibly toxic, right? Would have been really nasty right off the bat. But because they were connecting face to face in this like sort of serendipitous way, right? They didn't schedule a Zoom meeting with each other. They just happened to be in a Topia world, and they had a really beautiful conversation. And other people that were listening got to participate in that in a very non-echo chamber way, right? And so things like that are also happening that are, I think, very healthy for the future of the internet.
Yeah, I love it. I've got your website open up here on the side, and you have a bunch of people waving on the camera. It keeps distracting me. What the? Oh, is somebody seeing me right now? I love it. See, what a cool way to engage with people, especially for those of you who maybe haven't really done a lot of networking, and you're saying, hey, how do I get somebody really cool on my podcast, for example, or how do I get somebody to partner with me, or maybe a potential client? Where do I find these people? But I mean, you're saying, Daniel, like, go hang out in one of these Topia worlds and see what you can find. And if you're a gamer, it makes it even better, right? You can play games while you network. So
definitely. And we also have Twitch streams, embeddables. So you can actually, just for gamers, you can create a whole world that's just streams of gamers, right? Or if you are a Twitch streamer yourself, you can actually make a world of your own Twitch stream, bring people in. So instead of them communicating with each other via text, texting, essentially text chat in Twitch, they can be in a Topia world interacting with each other, really building actual community, right? And when you talk about building community, the importance of that is having a shared belief and then strengthening the bonds between the individuals. That's the key to building any real community. There are other keys too, like empowering your community to have leadership and to take ownership of themselves, things like that. But it's really challenging to strengthen bonds between members of your community with existing online tools. It's the reason, for example, that a lot of communities come together in annual galas or quarterly retreats. Even a company is basically a community, right? They have a shared belief as employees. They're a community of employees. They're trying to strengthen the bonds between each other. And so it's really important to have actual synchronous new experiences, form new memories together, and strengthen those bonds.
Yeah. And I love that, because that's the important part, right? Is the connection side of it. Well, and I want to ask you this, Daniel, with your story, and, now that we kind of understand what the platform's about, and, how honestly, how successful it's being, where I want to ask you is like, who is the person that was kind of that pivotal person in helping you launch this company?
The pivotal person.
And you
Well,
can't say
I
you.
think no, definitely not
It
me.
was me.
Um, there's a lot of people that were incredibly helpful and instrumental along the way. I think the first one was a group called Reimagine, and they were the first event that we built Topia for. And it was it's a group. It's a really wonderful group that is a recognition of death through the celebration of life. And they wanted to have an event. It was, I'd been building a version of Topia in virtual reality, and pandemic hit. I basically scrapped it, wanted to build a browser-based version, and got connected with Reimagine. They wanted to have an event, and they wanted to be more like real life, more like Burning Man, right? More of a festival. And Zoom just wasn't going to cut it. And so I connected with Brad over at Reimagine and was basically like, look, if I could build something like this in 3 weeks, would you be our first customer? Could we build this together, essentially? And they were for it. He was skeptical that I could actually pull that off, or that our team could pull it off. Because we had a small team at the time, my co-founder, basically the founding team of Topia. And so, we built something in 3 weeks, a prototype, and it was pretty successful. And so, they really went on a ledge for us. And then a lot of people that went to that first event wound up wanting to have events as well. So those people incredibly instrumental in our success. Because then, every weekend, basically, we started just having events every weekend, iterating during the weekdays. We were building community too. So people that were coming, that love what we were doing, started just coming to the events, right? And we had a Discord, community started growing. We were getting tremendous feedback. So really, in many ways, Topia, what it was not just like what we imagined we were going to build. We were very much building this with our community. So it was people that were taking a risk in the early days by even having events for important things for them, doing that in Topia instead of something that was, more tried and true like Zoom. So they were taking huge risks. And then our community, was spending time actually giving us feedback and building this with us and experimenting and pushing the envelope of what was possible. And we have some amazing partners in our community that show up to our town halls and to our community meetups. So thank you to all of you for doing that, and really pushing us to continue to go fast and to build things that are useful to community. And we're building a community platform, right? And we have our own community. We're trying to make this useful for them. And so I think that's really the answer, is like people that took risks on us early on. And then our community still to this day, and hopefully going forward, building this with us. Really amazing.
Yeah. And I love the way you guys have done that. I mean, everybody talks about doing that, like, polling your audience and, all the different ways, like the ask method, if you're familiar with that, that guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head anyways, but it's really all about how you're communicating and interacting with your audience. So I do want to ask you this, because where you have Topia, is this where you're getting feedback from people, is within Topia? You're having people walk around and ask questions, or are you able to communicate with them via email, or how do you personally do it?
Yeah, we did have a little bit of an advantage in getting feedback from our community, in that our platform facilitates that. So
Right.
Especially early on, we would go into events and wouldn't tell anybody that we were involved in Topia. We would just kind of like bring up the platform itself and hear what so people are like, oh yeah, it's really cool, but the videos are too small, right? Like,
Right.
Topia is known for having too small videos. Oh, that's great to hear, right? Some stuff that people wouldn't necessarily tell you directly. And so, that kind of thing was really helpful. Even in Topia, you can embed videos spatially into like massive theater projections. So people could use this similar way and like put a demo of their product, get feedback. You don't even have to say that you're the CEO or involved in the company at all. And instead just kind of hear what people have to say about the demo that's playing right in your world. So, you could use this in a very similar way, but that was massive, right? Getting that unadulterated feedback, the critical feedback. People are like afraid to give you real negative thoughts on your product for a lot of different reasons, right? Sometimes people don't even know exactly what it is they really want. But the biggest problem with doing user research and getting feedback is people are just, generally good and nice and don't want to give you critical stuff about your, this thing they know you've worked so hard on.
Right.
And so, if you can find a way to just be one of them, right? Like they're just like talking to some other stranger about the flaws of the platform. People are torrents of information then.
See, and I love that you can actually tap into that. I'm like, man, the data potential for something like this is insane. But being able to listen to those conversations, like you said, in an uncurated way. I mean, I know for me, that's what's getting me excited is, man, if I could get my audience over there and, have a username, they don't even know who I am. I'm just kind of wandering around listening to conversations. I can't even imagine the benefit to that for us to be able to, that'd be like walking through an event room and just being able to listen to people and be like, oh, I hated this about his speech. I hate the way this is laid out. I hate that every speaker is talking too long or that they're pitching or whatever. I mean, that the value of that is just crazy. Yeah. And I wasn't even intending this to be like, hey, let's pitch Topia the whole time, but holy cow, this platform, I'm going to go buy it after this. So, um, so, Daniel, when it comes to kind of the scale, the next steps for you guys, because you have just entered that seed round, this is, I think for a lot of people listening, this will be something that would intrigue them is what are your plans? What's the next phase for Topia?
Yeah. So I know this is a marketing podcast, but the reality is that we've been building Topia with our community for our community. We haven't done much external distribution yet. We've kind of had this flywheel of people get brought into an event, some percentage of them then create their own worlds, have their own events, bring more people in. So we have a sort of organic flywheel, but right. The next phase for us, I guess to back up, the first phase really of any startup is build a prototype, build a proof of concept, show some product market fit, show that people actually love and care about what you're building. Maybe you're bootstrapping, but if you're planning on raising, then you raise, right? Then with that capital, you build out a distribution system. And so we're in that phase. We're trying to build out a replicatable, scalable way of actually going to market. And, we're kind of in the early innings of that, of actually getting a top of funnel of figuring some of those things out. And, to be fair, I guess to us, we have done a lot of different experiments, things like Burning Man we did last year. So those, we have been experimenting with things, but we haven't really systematically approached it in the way that we systematically approach building product. Right. And so building distribution as a product is really where we're at right now. And so I'm super excited about it. I think that we have a lot of really great ideas and a lot of people that are interested. And so that's what probably our next 6 months is figure out not just marketing, but what are the different specific use cases to go after? Because one of the challenging things with Topia is that there are so many different use cases. People use it for companies, for education, for happy hours, for high school reunions, going to college, for Twitch streaming, for YouTube, for, there's a million different things that you could use this for. And so for us, the challenging thing, and for really any marketer, is picking your lane, right? And being specific and going after a segment of this thing, being successful with a segment. And then from there, expanding. But I think it's really important to focus, especially as you're trying to build out this distribution system. And so that's really the phase we're in.
Yeah, I love that you've really generated. I mean, honestly, the best form of marketing system you could is that flywheel effect, because most of us, in generating our own audience, that's really not a huge possibility, right? I mean, for a lot of the products that we sell, but you've actually created that. And then, like you said, being able to distribute it on a higher level. I mean, that's obviously scale is the most difficult part, and you guys are going to take off so fast. So I'm excited to see your journey on it. So with you and your backstory, Daniel, because this actually really intrigued me. You've been in product development. You said you've done 30 something products, even just in the past few years. So what made you realize that this was what was going to take? What was that pivotal moment for you where you said, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the idea.
That's a great question. Well, in many ways, this has been my life mission, is to build something like this. I actually built something similar for the fitness space in 2015, where fitness instructors could create their entire fitness worlds, create their own schedules, teach live interactive synchronous classes where they could see participants, help them fix their posture, that sort of stuff. And then participants could see each other. So emulating that experience of being at an in-person fitness class, but remote, and you could do it. Yeah, I could do it with my sister in Chicago. Our instructor could be in New York. I'm in Los Angeles. And so bringing that accessibility, making it way more fun than just watching a stream, right? A one-way broadcast from some famous fitness instructor, way more engaging. And so, that really kickstarted this mission of mine to build, in many ways, a more synchronous internet where you can have real experiences with people and have authentic connection around some context. In that case, it was fitness. In Topia Worlds, it could be anything. People are teaching fitness classes, but they're also doing a lot of other things. And so that kind of kickstarted that journey. I've also been a community builder for a long time and involved in lots of different communities, and have a very strong passion for the idea of empowering creators to make livings very easily and figure out how to actually digitally market themselves, make it feasible to be not like the top 1% of creator, but instead a normal creator and actually make a living from it. And actually make it so that the next generation, the future generations, think that creativity, being a creator, is a feasible life path. In the same way that like finance, when I was growing up, was like the thing to be, or a doctor, right? And then it was being in tech, being a software developer or an entrepreneur. And I think what's coming is being a creator, right? And it's already happening with platforms that exist right now, creator platforms that make it feasible to make a living kind of overnight by just creating content. And so, that's something that's been really passionate for me. And so this has been a project that I've been working on in some way or another for many years. And basically when the pandemic hit, I'd already been building a VR version of this. I scrapped it and started over for Reimagine, like I mentioned already, as a browser-based platform, and built a demo really fast, and sort of went from there. So, this has been a journey, and even the products that I was building, as I reflect back, I didn't even realize it at the time, but a lot of them were just pieces of what is now Topia. So I was kind of like honing this sphere of capabilities, of technologies, of understandings, kind of finding product market fit around specific features of Topia through different products, and then kind of smashing it all together into one platform.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I love that. I mean, to just kind of see where your mind went on that, and how it is your life vision. I think we all kind of have that. This is my ideal situation, but most of us don't take that leap to say, I'm going to do it today. And I think you rode the market at the perfect time. Everybody was saying, hey, let's start meeting up. We've got to meet virtually, and you've been able to do that. Man, I wish I had all day to talk to you. Lots of questions for you, man.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of wrap this interview up, though. First off, where can people connect with you?
So if they want to find Topia, it's topia.io. Highly recommend going there. At the bottom, we have all of our links. In particular, I'd recommend joining the Discord. That's where our community lives. People are making how-to guides and engaging with each other. We also have a Discover portal. So at the top of the homepage, something that says Discover. And so you can click on that. You can see a bunch of different public worlds. There's there's over 200 events that are happening every week. We actually have an event system coming out probably by the time this podcast airs. And so you'll be able to actually find events that are happening right now or that are coming up. Right now, we do have a calendar of things that people can submit to. So you can see things that are upcoming. It's a little bit harder to find things that are happening right now. But recommend checking out Discover, check out the events, join our Discord. Try creating your own world. And we have templates. We have a whole marketplace, a lot of free content as well, where you can just basically port in entire worlds and customize them from there. And so start playing around with it. Just check it out. Bring your friends in. It's pretty fun, pretty interesting. Free worlds, you can have up to 25 people concurrently, which is actually a lot. And so you can use it for free forever. Try it out. Have fun. Connect with each other. Be human.
Love it. Well, I love that. So I want to ask you one final question, Daniel, just to wrap this up. So if you could give us one final parting piece of guidance as an entrepreneur, from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, what would you recommend?
That's a great question. I think for Topia and in general, I have been very much a product builder and less focused on building the marketing product. And I think to a detriment in some ways, right? You really should be building these things together. They're equally important. Your product without a marketing engine, without a marketing product, you're not going to win with that, right? You're not going to be successful. You're not going to actually have the impact that you want and reach all the people with your amazing product. And, we have been doing some of those things, but my advice to anybody starting something is you got to be focused on both simultaneously. Just building the right product. And frankly, as you look back at all the products that have succeeded, they're not always the best in their category. They're just the ones that figured out how to distribute, right? So it's a prereq to have a good enough product, but then you have the impact that you're trying to have by distributing. And it's really important for people to keep that in mind as they're building things.